Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Today, you're going to hear CJ tell a story from the Philippines that got us all crying.
And you're going to listen to us talk about Heidi's rash.
And if you make it all the way to the end, you're going to hear about a body condom.
Enjoy.
Okay, all right.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Faith Rehab. Real talk about church hurt, healing, and rebuilding faith. And we're creating a safe space for people to talk about their genuine Christian experience and experience some great love and community. We're not going to use names of pastors or churches, but we are going to talk about real stuff inside of all of us. I'm Steve, and I am a former pastor, licensed clinical social worker for about 30 years. I'm a dad of two amazing adopted boys. This year, I'm celebrating my 40th year of marriage.
Hey.
And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, who knew she could have that much patience, really? Let's be honest.
Amen.
All right, who's next?
I'm Heidi. I am a former pastor's wife. I have 4 sons, and professionally, I am a public speaker, a consultant, an executive coach, and I have a dog named Chip.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where, pray tell, is that accent from?
Oh, I'm from the Midwest here, just south of Wisconsin.
Oh, you betcha.
You betcha.
Hey, my name is CJ, aka BMI Too High, aka Pepto Blitzmal, and aka CPAP Set Hike. Those are all fantasy football names. They're all related to my disabilities. I do have 3 kids, 2 dogs, and my dogs are named Butter and Noodle.
Chip, butter, and noodle.
Nice.
That sounds like a meal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's up with you guys? How are you guys doing?
Well, I have this rash that it's pretty intense, and it's actually something. It breeds in tanning beds, so I probably got it when I was younger and used to like go to tanning beds all the time. And it's a fungus that I get on my skin. And so I took my 17-year-old son to the drugstore, and I was Googling, like, what are some remedies for getting rid of this rash? And it's like Selsun Blue Jock Itch spray.
Okay.
They could be our sponsor.
I hope so.
And also like Jock Itch cream. And so we went into the store and I bought those things. And he also at the time was like, hey, can we get some Compound W, because I have a wart that I need to get rid of. And so we go up to the counter, and my 17-year-old looks at me and he goes, man, I sure hope this stuff works. And the older man behind the counter must have thought we were buying all the things for my 17-year-old son, because he looked right at him and he goes, me too, son. Me too.
That's a
We
lot.
walked out. I'm like, he probably thought you were getting all that stuff, like anti-dandruff, anti-jock itch cream. He's like, what? That's what? So,
Jeez.
but the rash
That's a
is cleared
lot.
up. The Lotrimin spray is a gift from the Lord. I'm telling you, I'm not itching like I used to. So something's working.
Good.
Well, there's an answer to prayer and chemistry. So that's good.
Should we pray right now for Heidi's rash?
I have an unspoken request.
You guys know how to make a real impression.
You know.
And what a shopping list.
If CJ is BMI too high, I'm just like TMI too high.
Yeah, we heard that from the last episode. So
BMI too high and TMI too high. It's nice to be with you guys.
Add it up.
Hey, last episode, we got to hear from Heidi Joy, and we got to hear all of her story. And if you haven't heard it yet, go listen to it because it's amazing. And you get to hear that fun accent all the way through. And it is fun too high, is what I'm going to say.
Dad jokes.
But tonight, we have the privilege of hearing from my good friend CJ. And to introduce it, I'm going to tell people how we met.
Yes.
CJ, is that okay?
Yes, please.
Such a good story.
6 years ago in 2020, COVID had hit, everything had shut down. The church that I was going to, or am going to, CJ was going to, and they were asking people to join small groups, and we're all going to be Zoom small groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife and I, we're in our 60s. My next birthday, I'll be 6'7". And
Every shot.
we signed up to go be a part of this small group. And I get an email back from CJ, and his wife's name is Samantha. She goes by Sam. And I get this email saying, "Hey, we should Zoom together and just get to know you a little bit." And
Can I just say one
be-
thing first?
yeah,
Please.
When you sign up for our group, it did say married couples aged, like the maximum age is 40. I believe we put 40. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
well, I don't know if it said that, but it did say married couples and kids are okay. We have kids,
Yeah,
we're
right?
good. And so just picture this.
Okay.
We're on our couch with our computer, and it's Zoom, and Sam and CJ are on their couch or something, and they've got on Zoom, and they start asking us, questions like, "Do you want to be part of the group?" and "Tell us about your life." And
Wait, time out. Can I ask you a question?
yeah,
CJ, did you know what they looked like? Like when they got on
No.
Zoom, were you like, okay, we're gonna have
I
a
did not know. I
problem
just
here?"
knew of their age because
Oh,
I think
okay.
you emailed me, "Hey, we are 60 something,"
I
and
see.
then
yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Keep
We
going.
told them, "Hey, we're old, but we like young people, and if you want old people in your group, we'll join." And then
yes.
then I want you to picture the two most awkward people in the whole world that haven't had a drink of water in about an hour because they just are like, um, 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 uh, our group is like younger people, right?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, we like young people.
Yeah.
Some of us have little kids, We're like, yeah, Susie's a former kindergarten teacher. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect.
All the right
And
answers.
they were so awkward and so gracious, though. I will say that. So gracious and so kind. And they're like, I mean, if you want to be in our group, you can. We might
Yeah.
do it at night. I don't know if you guys can stay up.
I did not say that. You are lying now, sir.
What was your intention, CJ? I want to hear it.
So I just felt like we were zooming with a couple that disregarded the age limit. And so I was like, how do I tell these people that there's an age limit? But when we talk to them, they are Heidi, they are the coolest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been awesome. I'm glad they reached out.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's been a great relationship ever since. We have babysat their kids a few times. Susie and Sam get together for coffee.
Mm-hmm.
CJ and I get together regularly for coffee
Mm-hmm.
in the weirdest coffee spots there are.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It was a blessing for us to be a part of that group for sure.
Yes.
So
Thanks,
CJ,
Steve.
you're on the hot seat tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about your story. People may not know a lot about you. I'm going to also introduce you again because people may not know CJ has been a professional dancer.
Woohoo.
He has been a part of a dance crew.
What's
He
the name of
has
the
done
crew?
Oh man. The
Like
crew's
a-
name is Step Boys. It's named after the auto parts store Pep Boys.
Step Boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
And
seen several of their dances. They are fantastic. Number one. Also, they did a big dance routine, and that's how he asked Sam to marry him.
oh,
After a big
wow.
old dance routine. It's fantastic.
telling
You'll have to
all.
send Heidi the link.
What?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty amazing. And CJ grew up as a pastor's kid. Sometimes people call those PKs.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi, I think you shared a little bit about that story. And so today we're going to talk to CJ and find out what was it like to be a pastor's kid? What was church like
Right.
for you?
Little correction though. Never been a professional dancer.
You've never gotten paid. That's not true because I know you get paid to teach dance too.
All right. Maybe. Okay. So PK, preacher's kid. Yeah, I grew up. I'm a third generation preacher's kid. My
Wow.
dad is a pastor. His dad's a pastor. My dad immigrated here from Philippines and went to Bible college and became a pastor here. Growing up as a pastor's kid, let me just start with this. It wasn't that bad, and I really enjoyed my time. And I now I know all the skills and all the things that I learned from it. But growing up as my dad was an immigrant pastor, and at that time I don't think there was many getting a full salary for what they do. So my whole life he was always bivocational. He was just like the disciples who had a side job and ministry. and my mom was a full-time nurse. So it was in that respect, I think it was a little harder
Yeah.
because we had two parents that had full-time jobs. Every afternoon we do community events, Bible studies. On the weekends, he would specialize in planting churches. He was a church planter.
Hmm.
And thinking about that now, what's the worst part of a church? I think it's the church planting part. So we would plant these churches, and whether they succeed or not, we'd leave them when they start getting a little bit of success, right?
Hmm.
And so it was just a lot of that: weekend Bible studies, fundraisers, community events, church planting, and all these other things.
CJ, how many of those church plants do you remember your family doing?
I would remember maybe 5 or 6. It's either my dad would start the church or he'd be part of a church plant, like other pastors doing it too.
Was
like
that
partners.
hard, or was it kind of like, I don't know, there would be something kind of like, peace, I'm out. Like you're on your own. You get to kind of leave it. Or was it hard because you'd make connections and then have to move on to the next thing?
I don't remember too many times where we would leave and it was hard. I just went with the flow. I don't even
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think most of the time I'm not in the know-how of the business of the ministry. I was just the guy that set up. I was the guy that played drums. I was the guy that played piano and all these other things. And I didn't think much of it. It was the only life I knew.
Yeah.
When I got older, as a teenager, we would go to these big mega church youth conferences. And that was the first time where I was like, wait, these kids look like they're having fun at church, right? And I would be like, man, I wish my church was like this, or I wish I had a youth group. I've never experienced a youth group growing up. And then at these conferences, they had this PK, like, those breakout groups?
Yes.
There's a PK breakout group. It's almost like a celebrate recovery for PKs or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And they would tell their stories and stuff like that. And I think what it is growing up, always seeing my parents busy all the time, and seeing behind the scenes, it really took the reverence out of church for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where like it doesn't seem like it's God's power running this thing. I could see humans running this thing. Fast forward coming as an adult, where I eventually I went to a different church as my parents, and then I went to a church with my wife, and then I worked at a church. I think I carried that with me, and I put this lens on to when I see a pastor, I think of them as a regular person.
Now,
Expect
what's the let's camp out on that for a second.
Okay.
You think of them as a regular person, which probably most pastors would say, great, I am
Yeah.
a regular person. But what's the kind of the good and the bad of that?
I think I would like disrespect their authority. Like I would challenge them all the time, just how I would with my dad. And so I think eventually it got to the point where I had leaders and I would be so quick to talk back or so quick to just criticize them. But at the same time, I would see them as regular people, but I would expect way more from them than a normal person. I expect some spiritual, you have all the wisdom, treat me perfectly. And that would really mess up all my expectations.
Do you have that for your dad too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so while I was on staff, I think I just treated some pastors at my church as if it was my dad. I put way like unreasonable expectations on my leaders
Yeah,
at the time.
That's good insight.
That's a really, really insightful, like self-aware thing to recognize. Like, was there a moment for you or like an age that you remember being or something that happened where you made that connection? Or because I don't know that I would be aware enough to think about that unless I had.
It was very recent for me to understand that. So while working in the church, I was so frustrated in the beginning because I know growing up, church is just hard. Church is messy. Leaders have to make decisions that are not easy.
Yeah.
And it's run by people. So there's definitely problems in it. But for some reason, you think when you work there, you think we would all just be kumbaya, really good at treating each other well, communicating at a high level because we love each other. And that's just not the case. And I would get frustrated coming from a corporate world saying, how come the corporate world is doing it so much better than the
Mhm.
spiritual world and the ministry world. It just doesn't make sense. And so it kind of loses, like, is God really in this? Like, this whole feeling like it's not what I expected. And I think that's common.
Yeah, you're actually kind of capturing two things that I think exist for most people a lot, whether they're aware of it. It's you can recognize the messy human side of the church experience, but you're also searching for something sacred and deep and
Yeah.
meaningful.
Yeah.
You know, it's and
Yeah.
that's the conflict, isn't it? That a lot of people in the church, I think, experience today is you realize you're part of this broken, messy body of people, and yet you're still longing for something sacred, but we're looking to the people
Yeah.
to show us that something sacred instead of locating it inside of ourselves,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
CJ, what was it like for your dad? Like for you, your dad worked all week long at some job, and I think he was a little bit of an entrepreneur, so he may have had several jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But then he would come home, tell you to do your homework, brush teeth, all those things dads do, and then on Sunday he'd get up and go, "Let's open our Bibles to
Yeah.
Ephesians 4," and he'd start preaching. What was that like?
I don't think it was till later when I asked. We had some little spurts of like him discipling me, but that happened when I was an adult. As a
Mm.
kid, I feel like maybe he thought, okay, my spirituality will be formed by the messages that I hear from my dad on the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have much of the hand holding, like, let's go through Genesis today, son. I didn't have any of that. I just got,
No, I
because
wasn't
they
talking
were,
about that at home. I was talking about like if when he gets up on a Sunday morning at church, he's going to
yeah,
go through like some Bible studies and
yeah.
stuff.
And I do remember at some point, he was a superhero for me on the pulpit.
Mm.
And then I think at another point in my life, maybe when I was older, I just heard his message, but it became, even though it was probably great, I think I would dismiss it because I saw the other side of him, which was
Mm.
just a regular guy, nothing bad.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think just the magic, the quote unquote magic of it all, was kind of um, dampened by just seeing all of the operations of everything.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes people compare it to like the Wizard of Oz, that once you look behind the curtain, it looks very, very different.
yeah,
And I wonder if that's what you're describing.
yeah, I think it would be, because I would say if this was my testimony about how I saw God, it would happen way after on my own. Not to say that any of my experiences as a kid didn't relate to my how I got called to, or how I got saved, but yeah, it was just a very to see all that growing up, and then also to see regular kids doing regular things. You can't help but be like, how's my grass on this side? How's their grass on that side? And just
Mm.
compare and just know, what am I missing out? The biggest FOMO of my life is being a pastor's kid and not knowing the
Mm.
other side.
Mm.
So I would
Wow.
say though, my parents were really chill. Like they let us experience a lot of things. Like I said, I was breakdancing and doing all these things, and but it's still the thing where I hear my dad preach on a Sunday, and we're forced to go to all these things all throughout the week and the month and the years.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two. I
Okay.
have an older sister, younger sister,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
we all specialize in being a Swiss Army knife for Sunday services. We always laugh. If I see a picture of my sister like at my parents' church doing sound, we laugh at each other, and it's funny.
So I don't know that you said this, but maybe you did, and I didn't hear it. But you said your dad was a immigrant pastor. Where did he emigrate from?
He came from the Philippines.
So is your mom Filipino?
Yes.
Were you raised like as more of a Filipino family or more like American or Filipino American, or how would you describe that?
I think it's a very uniquely Filipino American situation. We only spoke English, but my parents would speak Tagalog, and we'd be around a lot of Filipinos and Filipino communities.
Were they
So
those parents that like spoke Tagalog when they didn't want you to hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
Like
And I should
they were
learn so
mad
I
at
can
you
know
and
what.
they were like probably cussing you out, but you couldn't understand
Yeah,
it.
I don't speak, and I wish one year. I think it's my New Year's resolution to learn so that I could surprise them and I could know if they're talking trash. Yeah,
Love that.
I never got to
That
do
would
it
be
though.
beautiful. So,
Yeah,
we talk about here church hurt, but we also talk about like what's helped. What's
yeah.
helped you?
Mm.
Tell us where you feel like you are now and what's helped.
What helped the most is realizing that it's not a church problem; it was a perception problem for me. I think I was
Hmm.
perceiving, and I was
Wait,
putting.
I want you to say that again because I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I don't think like the church hurt. The problem came from the church. I don't think the church was a problem. I think it was my perception
Hmm.
that was a problem. What it did later, and it really helped me after I left the church, um, staff wise, employment wise, is that I had to learn empathy,
Hmm.
and I learned that in just thinking back, all these things about just seeing my dad as a human, seeing my leaders as people, and knowing that I treated my leaders as my parents, like that unresolved tension that I never talked about.
Yeah.
Because I just know ministry is hard, leadership is heavy, pastors are human. They're not Jesus. They're trying to be, and so am I. So why do I put this
Hmm.
unrealistic expectation on them? And once I understand that, I think it was easier for me, although it took a while, to come back to the church that I was employed in.
So
I don't
this isn't going to be everybody's story where they're
know.
like leave a church and then they go back. But what's it like now that you see, the pastors and the staff members that, maybe should have been better than the corporate world? What's it like to see all those people and interact with
I
them
just
now?
really pray for them.
Hmm.
It's a hard job. And I think Steve helped me through this to understand that it is a corporate job and it's a church. So it's really
Hmm.
hard to separate the two, where you expect like if someone is fired from the job, you kind of expect them to come back on a Sunday. And that's just not how it is in corporate world, and it's very messy. But personally, there was this big cloud of just anger around how the church treated other staff or me or whatever. You have to have a whole lot of empathy and forgiveness. For that's what I experienced. To go back and just make it about having the relation, like building the relationship again with my church and with God again.
Right.
I'm really emotional right now, and I didn't expect this. I think, last time I talked, CJ, you were like, wow, I need to call my mom and apologize to her. I'm listening to you, and I feel like I need to call my ex husband and apologize to him because you're using the word empathy. And in the church, we talk a lot about grace and forgiveness, and those are important things. But to really empathize or have empathy for the people in the church that for me, it would be very easy to be disappointed by them or frustrated or feel like, why can't you do this better or differently? And to not extend empathy towards them, including my ex husband, who it's like, that's what I want. That's what I need. Why am I withholding that from the people that are already in positions that are being criticized and scrutinized and
Yeah.
all the rest? So thank you for saying that because it's important.
Yeah. And I would say pastors that they make wrong decisions, like maybe an obvious sin or something scandalous or whatever. I think for me it was like, who am I to figure that out? Like,
Mm.
who am I to put that much pressure on me? Or like, God will deal with it however he wants to deal with it. And if something is so messy in a church and you expect people to fix it, how small of a God do you think he is?
Mm.
You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, there is church drama, and sometimes it looks like, I don't know how we're going to get out of this. But
Mhm.
if we do, that has to be God. And for many years, I thought I couldn't see the God power in all the ministry because you see so much behind the scenes. But if a church is messy and it keeps going, that is God.
That's really beautiful.
That's really great.
And we want to take the credit, like in our flesh and in our human side. It's like we want credit when the things go right.
Yeah.
And it's like
Look what I
we're
did.
missing the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is, especially in churches, we think, oh, if the pastor leaves, then that will change everything. No, the pastor left and everything else stayed the same. You know,
Right.
that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily change. What changes is when we all decide we're going to need change
Hmm.
and do things differently.
Yeah.
CJ,
Yeah.
boy, I really appreciate your story, and I'm just sitting here going, listen to Faith Rehab. You'll need to call someone later and apologize, but thanks for tuning in.
You're the therapist. We'll
Um,
put your number at the end.
I want you to tell uh, Heidi, I don't know how much she knows, but our listeners definitely a little bit about your recent trip. I mean, I've known CJ really well for a couple of years, and he's talked a little bit about his dad here, but his love for his dad and his family are just really to the core at the
Mm.
molecular level. He has such a love for his dad, his family. He knows they're like all of us that are grown ups. We know our parents are imperfect, but
Right.
that love just really shines through. But recently took a picture. He probably took a picture. Took a trip with his family, and I wonder if you would talk about what that was like a
Yeah.
little bit.
So to preface this, my dad has kidney failure. He's on dialysis. And we were fortunate enough to be able to take my whole family, me and my sisters and our families, to the Philippines. They gifted it to us. And we were just like, yes, because knowing, and my dad says this all the time, he's at the sunset of his life. And so knowing that we came into this Philippines trip as like, this could be the last time we come here as a family. And we've only done this together 30 years prior, like on the day, 30 years.
Wow.
So, one thing that we did when he got there, we went to his church, the church that his dad built in Metro Manila, and he showed us right next to the church, literally, like the living room windows go into the church. That's where he lived. His little
Wow.
Parsonage.
yeah, right next to the church.
Wow.
It's a little house, and then he took us there, and we're all listening, and he said, you know, we were very poor, and during typhoon season. He's pointing down in the little basement. Do you see that little platform, this concrete platform? It's about like maybe 4x4. All 8 of them or 7 of them would stay there during typhoon season because that's the only place where it wouldn't flood and you could stay away from the rain.
Wow.
And so that's just one example of like, okay, I'm trying to picture my PK experience and his PK experience drastically different, right? Fast forward to now. We went there because they built a house. It's called Kamaya Coast, which is like a beach area near the Bataan Peninsula. And they finished a house there and we wanted to go see it. So they also did a house blessing. And for me, the whole time I was like, why are we doing this house blessing? This is just a showboat. We're just showing a house, right? But what it was is that they wanted to bless the house, and my dad was in tears by the end, and he was saying, dang. He has a big family and they never had vacation. And you could only imagine an immigrant pastor's salary here is low. Imagine a Philippine pastor there is real low. Many of them cannot have a vacation ever.
Wow.
So the purpose of this house in Kamaya was to have it as an Airbnb to fund it so that they could gift it to pastors so they could get some rest. And I'm crying because my dad was crying. And you know, when your dad cries, you got to cry too. So he was telling the crowd this, and I didn't know the purpose of the church. I didn't even know that. I didn't know the purpose of this house. I just thought it was a vacation house. And so, yeah, he just, him and my mom want to just gift that to Philippine pastors and their families to just get away from services, from praying, from hospital visitations, just family. And it hit me because I realized, even though we were struggling and they were both working and they were doing ministry, they always took us out on vacation. And super thankful for that. I don't know how they did it because I could barely do it to my family. But when we got married, he said, make sure you go on vacation even though you can't afford it. I was like, okay. So it was just more of that empathy for my dad. And I had all these things, and we could talk about this in another podcasts or but I dealt with recovery things, and a big part of that was my dad, and I had all this anger. But if you just like look at a pastor as a human and just know that they're going through a lot of stuff, I think it would help with your church hurt or whatever it is. Even if they did some heinous thing, you know, they're still human. God loves them. You should love them too, and just try to find your way to forgive.
Well, geez, thanks for leaving us in puddles, CJ.
I didn't know either. I blame
Oh
Steve.
my gosh, that was so beautiful.
Yeah, he said he didn't want to talk. You can blame me, but that is such a great story. And CJ, thank you for sharing your story and your heart. And also, what a legacy your parents are leaving to just building a house so that Philippine pastors can go and get away and get a
Mhm.
respite. And
Yeah.
and I know that he will be proud and is proud of you and the ministry that you do, and even allowing an old guy into your small group. I mean, that's
Yeah.
grace right there, buddy.
I still didn't say thank you to my mom or my dad, but thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, that was fabulous. That really, I mean, I've got some phone calls to make after that one.
CJ, I thank
Ooh.
you. I know we've talked a lot this week, and I think you probably have no idea how powerful that is, because we all think our story is normal, right?
Mm.
It's the
Yeah.
other people that can relate.
No, I hope so too. Because it's not always like the huge, crazy story of church hurt. I think some people, it is that subtle thing that happens through your life that you just have this little bias against church. And
Mm.
maybe it's something to kind of like hit directly and just kind of like face it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for sharing. That was beautiful.
Okay, all right.
I think it's only fair that we end in an irreverent way, because after all that crying, nothing hits like a good story.
Please.
You know, I travel a lot for my job, and sometimes I stay in hotels that are so gross. I feel like I need a condom for my entire body to go to sleep. Steve, I heard you've got a good hotel story. I thought maybe you could share it with us.
Yeah, my in-laws lived in San Diego, and one time they were having a family event, like on a Saturday. So her brother and his wife or family went down on Friday night, stayed Friday night in a hotel, and then they left Saturday. They gave us the key. We stayed Saturday. We were going to leave Sunday. Same hotel room. And so it's like a big family party or birthday party. Who knows what it was? But it was a big, big event. And, you know, we were young and didn't have kids. So we stayed out late. And then we went to the hotel with our key. We put it in the door. It wouldn't open.
Okay.
We put it in again, jiggled the handle. It wouldn't open. And I'm like ticked, like, what is wrong? I
Right.
checked, double checked the text of where my brother had stayed. It was room 325. I tried it again, called my brother-in-law. Where was it? 325. Tried it again, tried it again, tried it again. All of a sudden the door opens. There's a guy just as bold as anything, wearing nothing but a sheet. And he goes, "What do you want?" I go, "This is our room." He goes, "No, this is our room."
Oh no.
I go, "No, this is my room. Look here, 325. This is my room." No, it's not. So he's like in the middle of the night, completely buck naked except for a sheet. And
Wow.
so we go down to the the front desk. We
Yeah.
go, "Somebody's in our room." Oh, it looked like you had moved out. So we gave that room to somebody else.
Oh,
So my brother-in-law moved
no.
all of his stuff out, and they gave the room to somebody else. So I had the key, but of course it didn't work. And they gave us another room. And first thing I did was bolt the door. Like I don't want anybody
Oh
coming
my
back to this.
gosh.
Wow.
So that's a bizarre story, hotel story. And I know people have other bizarre stories, but CJ's got a good one.
I do. A couple of years ago, I was coming from a wedding in Vegas, and that was during the time where there was like the atmospheric river storms in California. That's the first time I heard about atmospheric rivers or whatever. But it was raining bad. And so there was a lot of closures in California. So instead of going through LA to go home to Northern California, we went up Nevada. And I don't know if you ever have a chance to, but don't. Because at like 100 miles at a time, there's no services, no gas stations, no nothing. So, and then there's all these ghost towns from old silver mine towns that are just ghosts. They're all abandoned. So halfway up Nevada, about 4 hours in. I'm like, Sam, it's getting dark. Find us a hotel somewhere, please. So she goes on, my wife's name's Sam. She goes on to hotel.com. The first thing she finds is this nice Victorian nice Victorian hotel called Nispa Hotel in the town called Tonopah, which is also like a ghost town. So Sam's checking in. I'm holding kids and looking at this bookshelf next to the counter where they check in. And as she's checking in, they're laughing for some reason. The people checking her in are laughing. I'm reading whatever is on this display, and it says Mispa Hotel, the most haunted hotel in America.
No.
Not kidding. And so I didn't want to freak out the kids. They're not going to read anything if I don't tell them to. So I nudged my wife and look at this. And she just looked at it and kind of dismissed me. I was like, okay. And so they go up to the room, and this hotel was it looked like it was decorated to be a haunted house.
Were you scared?
Yes, I was scared. Yes. And then so, of course, me, the dad, I have to take 7 trips to the car to unpack, right? So they go on the 3rd floor. And while the people are saying, hey, the hotel is on the 3rd floor, they giggle. And I'm like, what's happening? So we go up. We don't say anything. The kids go in the room. I text my buddies, hey, if you don't hear from me next week, I'm at this haunted hotel in Mispa, Tonopah, Google me or something, right? And then as they Google it, as I'm going in the elevator, they text me, hey, can you hear voices in the elevator? Hey, do you see the red lady? Hey, all these things that they're Googling, right? And I'm going up and down, up and down. Anyways, we survive. It is scary, but we survive. When we're going home, that's when we started Googling everything. And it apparently, a lot of ghost hunters go there. There's like a lady that killed herself on the 5th floor, but the story is on the 3rd floor that 2 kids got murdered there. And if you listen carefully, you could hear them bouncing the ball up and down the hall. So they were laughing at us because we had kids and we were going on the 3rd floor.
Oh my gosh.
It was a
Did you just
disaster.
like pray over I would be like calling out to Jesus. I would have not slept well.
I could not sleep. And then around 1 o'clock, the power turned off. And my wife was like, don't say it, CJ, don't say it. It turned out she was scared too. She just wanted to be strong for the kids, which I should have done that. I didn't see that coming, but
oh my gosh, heck no! I'd be sleeping in the car on the side
Mispa
of the
Hotel.
road.
Secondary fear right now. Like I'm
Yeah.
not in a haunted house, but I don't even want to go to bed tonight.
I know, seriously. I started the whole thing with wearing a condom and then with ghost stories. Took a dark turn.
It's like a ghost story podcast now.
Seriously.
I think the moral of the story is if you're out in the Midwest at a hotel and you see a lady with a full body condom on, just
That's
say
me.
Heidi, and you should be
Hey,
good.
Heidi.
I think I could sell them. Maybe they'll be our sponsor.
With a
Well, thanks for
Yes.
listening to our podcast. And CJ, we were really so honored to hear your story. And thank you for sharing it. And be sure to listen next time. We're going to be talking to Steve about his church hurt and what helped him through it and where he's headed. Oh, and don't forget to be blessed.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Be blessed.
Bye.
Okay, all right. Add it up.